First of all, before I begin, can I hear something from the single people in the house? That's, that's right, scream that sadness out. Yeah, I know being single can be extremely tough. I've been single for 5 years, and my friends are worried. My dad is not surprised. He looks at me and says, Shakal dekhi apni. But thanks, Dad. But you know, it sort of tends to get annoying after a bit. People keep asking the same questions again and again. So I sort of started introspecting and thought I should write something, you know, something that explains why I don't want to date or why I don't want to fall in love. So my name is Shamir Rubin. I'm 23 years old, and this piece is called Why I Don't Fall in Love. I've been asked this one question so many times, it always tends to touch a nerve. Shamir, could you tell me one thing? Why is it that you don't fall in love? I've thought about it so much now, I think I've finally hit the end of my wits. But one day, I woke up with an answer that fits. So here's something I came up with. When I was 16 years old, I took this girl to McDonald's for our very first date. We were seeing each other for 3 months straight, and everything was going better than great. She was 10 days elder to me, with skin that looked so whitewashed it gleamed, kind of like the moon you'd envision in the purest of dreams. And if her skin was like milk, her hair was like silk. It smelled of strawberries. Her cheeks white and red like small cherries dipped in fresh cream. In fact, whenever I tried to describe her, it sounded less like a ballad and more like I was dating not a girl but a fruit salad. Anyway, I thought I'd take her out for a meal, spend a day telling her exactly how I feel. How having her around was a big deal for a guy who didn't know the first thing about love. She spent the first few hours looking into my eyes, the rest with her face in chicken McGrills and French fries. But yeah, it felt kind of nice knowing that my heart finally felt like the little things could suffice. So as she finished and had her fill, we walked up to the counter to pay the bill. You see, this is the part that made me wary, because the things printed in that paper were scary for someone who didn't like spending too much. Now, I was cautious, being a miser is what you'd call it, but it was simple self-defense for a guy with more dust than money inside his wallet. So as I grabbed the paper, my palms started to sweat, my throat went dry, and my forehead was wet. I turned around and she was there smiling, so I smiled back in regret. I think my love blinded me to how she hogged one burger after the other. 400 rupees. I was dating Godzilla's mother. I snatched the paper away and stared at what was in it, losing my patience with it, growing paler by the minute. She tugged at my shirt and said, "Is everything okay, baby?" Like if I said no, it would make a difference, maybe. But then I thought I could make a few exceptions. After all, isn't love about learning to live with imperfections? 2 years later, I started off with a blank slate. I found myself in the midst of yet another date. I'd known this one for 19 years now. In fact, right from the very beginning of my days. I stood on a white-tiled hospital floor, and she was in a bed, sore in a half-paralyzed state. We'd been here several times straight now, and things were anything but great. She was 24 years ahead of my age, but with a beauty that even today leaves me in a daze. Her skin had creases and had started to sag. Her face looked like it had been dragged through 6 weeks of jet lag, but that smile, oh, that smile was the best thing you could ever have. For the first few hours, we stared at each other in quiet silence. For the rest, I gazed at scars left by chemotherapy's violence, cuts and bruises uninhibited for a sin my mother never thought of, let alone committed. So as we started talking, one of the doctors I'd seen around walked in. You see, this is the part that made me wary, because the things printed in that paper were scary for someone who wanted to see her recover. I walked outside the door onto this suffocating corridor on the second floor. I walked up to these benches arranged in a line, my mind preoccupied with how she was doing with the chemotherapy needle slowly piercing her spine. Was she crying? Was she fine? I could never tell. But those moments, I remember, are my first memories from hell. Even in those moments, I was grateful for certain things, like science, medicine, and a soundproof door to muffle the sound of an angel losing her wings. Ironic why they call the room intensive care. I think my love blinded me to the predicament we were in. Both of us were breathing the same air, but only one of us was living a sin. I took her out of the ICU in her little wheelchair, making sure I didn't push faster than her back could bear. "Are you all right, Mom?" I asked her with a petrified stare. I still tell myself I never did enough to take her away from a living nightmare. Then how could she ever love me for my imperfections? So when someone asks me, "Shamir, why don't you fall in love?" I give them this explanation first. I do fall in love. It's just the definition of the word is something I've never been able to infer. I found good love at a bad time. I found bad love at a good time. I just don't know which one it is that I prefer. Maybe I fear that love is a paradox I won't be able to bend. Maybe I fear the women I love will inevitably leave me. In the end, I know what I have lost and how much I miss them, which is why the question of love doesn't touch a nerve. It wrecks my entire nervous system. But then, I figure I fear love, not possibilities. I wrap myself in insecurity, but I still admire the sanctity and purity what love tends to bring. Maybe I'll find love hogging over French fries and chicken wings. Maybe I'll find her lying still amid chronic cycles of suffering. I don't know. I can't read what's written in fate. But if love is anything like what I've had to take, I think I prefer to wait. Thank you so much for having me, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the commune, thank you so much for coming, and good evening to you.